The company that we are looking at today from a technical standpoint is COFORGE, earlier known as NIIT Technologies Limited. Hello, folks. My name is Neil, and welcome to the Stock Market Fundamentals and Technical Series, episode 7, part 2. In part 1, we looked at the fundamental analysis of COFORGE, and now we are looking at the technical analysis of COFORGE. What you see on the screen is the monthly chart of COFORGE. As you can see, this company has given consistent and good, strong growth over the years. Every candle that you see on this chart is a month in the life of COFORGE. A monthly chart means every candle represents 1 month. Now, we do see a little bit of a drop in 2020, but then this is the COVID crisis drop that every company that we know of, even the best ones, have seen. But what's important is in the next 1, 2, 3, and 4 months, the company recovered to its original numbers and then has been consistently growing and is at its all-time high right now. Uh, let's look at what would be, if there are any opportunities in the company, if I were a long-term investor, and what would be a good price to enter in. I would look at the weekly chart. Now, to look at what is a good price to enter in, I would look at, as a long-term investor, I would look at the weekly chart and the daily chart. We always look at two charts of 2 time frames to decide what's a good price to enter. We look at the demand and supply forces, and I have a separate video that talks about demand and supply to understand what demand zones are and what basing candles are and such. And I'll share the link in the video so that you can take a look at it. So what we do is we try to find a good basing candle and a basing candle that has explosive growth immediately after it. I can see that there are a couple of basing candles about over here, but this is a demand zone that is way far away from my current price. This is 3896, and this demand zone is at 2722, and the chances of the price dropping down all the way to 2722 is quite low. So I will have to unfortunately let this one go. There are a few demand zones here as well, but this demand zone is quite big and large, and the explosive growth that I see immediately after it is actually not really explosive if you count all the 3 basing candles. But if we do count this basing candle alone, and I'm doing a body to wick here, because on the anything above the daily time frame, I do a body to wick. I don't do a wick to wick. So I only use one of the wicks and not both the wicks. So if it were this candle, a body to wick would look something like this. Well, anyways, we're not using that one, we're using this one. So this is a very, very good demand zone. And if the price were to come down to this level, it would be an excellent price to get in. Having said that, I don't think the price will come down that much either, considering that it is a bull market right now and the trends are all upwards. The chances of it falling that much is low. And if you look at the trend overall, the price has always been touching the upper Bollinger Band and very rare chances of it touching the lower Bollinger Band. So we'll have to pick up something that's a little bit closer to the current price. I see 2 other basing candles over here, and this looks like a good level to enter for COFORGE for a long-term investor. Now, like I said, we look at 2 time frames. This is the first time frame, weekly chart. Let's take a look at the daily time frame to see if we find a coinciding level with the weekly chart. Now, here I see that, well, the price has been a little bit up and down, and I don't see any specific levels here except this one. This is a decent level. Let's see if I can do a body to wick here. Hold on. But then this was immediately breached. Oh, I guess I am going to have to go with this one. This one and this one look quite similar, so to speak. Yeah. So there are multiple demand zones forming at this level, from where there has been an explosive growth, and then the price hasn't yet come and tested these zones. So what I'll do is I will probably enter at this level. Let's see, hold on just a second. And if the price does come down from here and disrespects this zone, I would have a stop loss somewhere around here. And considering that we are doing an all-time high, I don't see any supply zones being formed yet. I see a few basing candles that have been formed here. So I may be able to use it, but I don't know it yet. Now, if tomorrow the price goes up and disrespects this zone, then I'm going to have to form another zone. But for now, I can go with this particular zone and have a target somewhere around here. So for a long-term investor, the target doesn't really matter if the investor is going to be waiting for a couple of years or, or 10 years, 20 years, then this target doesn't really matter. So I am keeping a target here, but the target is irrelevant. It's the stop loss that we really need to be careful about. Now, let's say that I'm not a long-term investor and I am a swing trader, and I would like my returns to come back in the next couple of days to weeks. Then a good level for me to enter would be this one, right? I'm as a swing trader, my daily chart is going to be my higher time frame chart. So I'm going to take a look at the daily chart, but then I'm also going to take a look at a lower time frame chart, which could be 60 minutes. I usually take a look at the 60 minutes, but sometimes to fine tune it a little bit, I may look at a 75 minutes or a 30 minutes or a 125 minutes chart as well. So let's take a look at um, the um, daily time frame, and here I see that there is a level being formed here. So um, and considering I'm a swing trader, I'm going to have to, wait for a day or two before I can finalize it. But this looks like a decent supply zone for me on the daily chart. Well, let's fine tune it a little bit and go into the 60 minutes chart and see if we can find a few levels which are more, specific to a swing trader. So in the 60 minutes chart, I'm going to use um, a week to week demand zone, and this looks like a healthy, decent demand zone. So I see that there are a few basic candles that are coinciding with the daily chart. I will form my entry somewhere around here. Let's see. Is there a possibility that the price will come down to this level? There is. There may or may not be, to be very honest. But I'm going to have to wait because on the 60 minutes, I see that the RSI is at 65 and it's recently, touched the upper Bollinger Band. So it's not a good idea to get in at this point in time. I think there is a demand zone here as well, but it's too high for me at this point in time. I see a few basing candles here as well. So, but then actually I cannot conclusively tell you whether this is a good demand zone at this point in time. We're going to have to wait a few days to see if the price comes down here, and then we'll have to look at the RSI at that point in time. Right now it's 65, so I'm assuming that the RSI at that point would be somewhere around 45, which is actually not low enough. um, Come to think about it, I would ignore this demand zone and wait for it to come down to 3585.45 before I actually enter as a swing trader. The trend is upwards, so it's a good. It would be a very good opportunity if we could get to this level. Now let's quickly have a stop loss here down just below the demand zone, and then a target of somewhere around here. I still don't see a supply zone. Hold on just a second. I think I can see a supply zone somewhere around here. So the target would be somewhere here. And I have a rewards to risk ratio of 4.82, which is decent actually. 1:4.82 is almost like 1:5. So I can fine tune this a little bit and make it 1:5. Now let's take a look at if I have any opportunities as an intraday trader. Now, to be very honest, the chances are very less, simply because this is an upward trending stock, and we don't short stocks. Okay, wait just a minute here. I may have spoken a bit too soon. No, not really. I don't see any opportunities, to be honest. I see there is the price basically dropped quite suddenly from here, but this is not really a basic candle, so I can't use this one. But let's assume that we do. It's not been touched yet. I'm definitely not going to short the stock because it's an upward trending stock. I do see a level somewhere around here. This is a demand zone. We're somewhere in the center. The RSI is at 50. It's not too high, not too low. Honestly, I think I see a sideways trend for a couple of days because I see that there are lower highs and higher lows, and the price is consolidating to the center. So, So no opportunities for intraday traders, at least at this point in time. Yes, if the price does come down all the way till here, then I may have an opportunity here somewhere. So I will form an entry line somewhere here, and I will form a stop loss somewhere here, and a target. Now the DATR is 98, so 3812. I should not go higher than 3900. Let's see, somewhere around here. Yep, I think that's a good 1:5 ratio. Actually, in intraday, I can increase my or make my ratio 1:3 or even 1:2.5. So let's see if I can do that. Now, I am giving you all these numbers for long-term investors, short-term investors, um, you know, intraday traders, but don't take these numbers literally, as I say in every single one of my videos. These numbers are just to give you an example of how, you should find your entries and exits and stop losses, uh, because as time passes, these numbers become irrelevant. New levels are found, new demand zones and supply zones can be identified. So try to understand how these demand zones and supply zones are formed, and create your own levels and do the intraday trading. You will see over a period of time that these do work. There are many indicators for technical traders, but I have found the demand zones and supply zones to be the most effective means to understand um, at what price the stock price is going to turn, or at what levels the price is going to turn. And this is all a probability game. There's no 100% guarantee that the price is going to turn at some point in time, because there are so many forces in play. There's the demand and supply forces. There are the international markets that play an important role. There's the, now the COVID vaccine and the COVID pandemic and economic, um, you know, um, policies announced by the government and the finance department of finance ministry, and so on and so forth. So it is impossible to really predict with 100% guarantee at what price the stock is going to turn. But it's a game of probabilities, and we try to understand what would be a good price to buy and what would be a good price to sell. We don't really get into the business of predicting what the future is going to be. That's impossible, if you really ask me. What I really try to do is try to understand if it's expensive or cheap to buy, and is it expensive or cheap to sell. So we sell cheap, or sorry, we buy cheap and we sell dear. If it is expensive, we sell. If it is cheap, we buy. Doesn't matter what's going to happen tomorrow. Doesn't work very well in case of intraday, because we need to reduce the time frame to a single day and we have very little time, so it gets a little tricky, and the probabilities are very difficult to predict. And that's the reason why I personally don't get into intraday. It's very difficult to understand what's expensive and what's cheap. But as a long-term investor and as a swing trader, I think it works very, very well. That's all I have for you today. Folks, COFORGE. It's a good company to invest in, as we saw in part one. And if you haven't seen part one, I'll share the link to part one. Do take a look. We've looked at the technical analysis. It's a good company to invest in. I've given you some levels, but don't take them literally. Try to understand how to come up with these levels. The purpose is not to really give you the exact numbers to invest in. Also, this is a series, and we are doing one company after the other, the same fundamentals and technicals, just so we get enough practice. We keep looking at it, and we keep looking at it, and we keep understanding how levels are done. And over a period of time, we get better. I hope you've enjoyed the content that I presented, and I'm always looking for feedback to improve and learn new things. And do let me know if you have any ideas that you'd like me to cover. Otherwise, I wish us all the best, and I hope we make a ton of money off the stock markets. Have fun.